So welcome back to the Women in Data Takeover stage for Act 3. We're joined by the amazingly talented Chanade Hemming, and she's going to be talking very candidly about career transitioning. Chanade, I'm going to hand it straight over to you.
Cool, thank you. Hi everyone, afternoon. What a brilliant couple of talks from Robin and Tez. There's a lot of similarities in the talks. If you're here for those ones, you'll see a few tell me whys and a few other bits and pieces in mine. So today, when Roisin and Fiona asked me to talk, it was an easy yes for the data session. And I'm really excited. I've been part of the community for probably about a year or so now. And we're looking to grow the Women in Data community within Virgin Media Road too. So hopefully getting closer and closer to Women in Data and seeing more of you at like the events and stuff. So I'm going to start with the human element like everybody else did. I work in data. A lot of us work in data in this room, hopefully. We are humans, and I think it's really important to bring yourself to work. And I guess throughout my whole career, I've always been shaped. And I think that stems right back to when I got a first job like a waitress. 1 minute I could be serving room service to Cliff Richard, the next minute I could be dealing with a wedding, and the next minute I could be giving Arsene Wenger grapefruit juice that was not fresh, it was from the carton. So I think people are just people, and when you talk to people, regardless of being a CEO, a machine learning engineer, or a commercial manager, we're all people at the heart of it. So I'm a mum. A lot of the story you'll hear here is like pivots, and you'll start to hear about maternity leave was a really big pivot for me after. I work 4 days a week, and I think that's really important, especially for the younger generation of people coming through careers, because as I grew up with very, very strong women, but not career women, and there was nobody for me to look at and go, well, they've done it. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, like, if I have a baby, like, what happens to my career? Like, actually, it's fine. So I think that's a really big point to make. And there's some other random facts there about me. If you want to buy me a cheese board and a glass of red wine, you're my best friend. So my journey in data, how it started, this probably looks a bit weird, like a really blank calendar. That is not how my diary looks. But on maternity leave in 2020, I was taking part in Keep in Touch days. So fun fact, if you do go on paternity, maternity or adoption leave or anything like that, when you're coming back into work, do use those Keep in Touch days. I got to meet Alberto, who's now my boss. He joined Virgin Media Road 2 in October 2020, and an email came out and it was like, hey everyone, welcome Alberto. And I was like, he's cool. And a couple of years before that, I decided I wanted to move into data. So I spent my year in product management, working with engineering teams, focusing on customer experience. And I was like, data is something that I love. I really want to get into it. How do I do it? I'm never going to get to do that here. And then Alberto popped in my inbox. So I was like, right, I'm just going to email him. So sent him an email, and that's kind of a theme through my career, just build the network, basically. So had a catch up with Alberto, spent quite a bit together, talked about data products, product management in data, etc. And 10 weeks after I came back, I ended up in his team, and this is how it's going. The team's actually a bit bigger than that now, but we've grown exponentially. So my 18 months in data, we've spent 14 months on the Google Cloud platform. We've had 2.5% in team growth. Like we're just massively grown. I was saying to Tej just now, it's a joy because when I joined Virgin Media about 6 years ago, which was never the plan to stay there that long, the engineers were like too far away from me. They're either like a couple of them in Reading or abroad in other countries. And I was so used to literally just like walking up to an engineer and being like, oh, I want to do this, but I couldn't do that. And I'm really proud to say that we've built an in-house team, which is a massive achievement, I would say. And the talent that we've got is incredible. I've got 10 in the team now, so joined as an individual contributor, and we've got 10 people in the data product function. So we must be doing something right. And then we've had thousands and thousands of code releases, and we've got quite a lot of data products out there. And I'll come on in a little bit about what data products are, because they come in all shapes and sizes. But yeah, some really great stuff there. This is from our annual conference. We've had one called the Data Jam. We've got our one next Tuesday with the team, so that should be awesome. So I guess from Robin and Tez's side as well, I think there's a theme of putting people at the heart of the journey, big on like ways of working, how teams are doing, asking the right questions. I love the Unicorn Project. That's not me on the Unicorn, but I wish it was. If you've not read the Unicorn Project, it's a great book from G and Kim, and it follows on from something called the Phoenix Project. And he introduces the DevOps principles, and they really do put people at the heart of what you're doing. So if you think about, there's one principle around focus, flow, and joy, and the way that I interpret that is we've got an idea for something, we've got a model in production, within like an hour we could do something, and bang, bang, it could be in production. Like the flow is there, the engineer that did the thing can hit the button and it goes out to customers. You don't get much better than that. When it's Virgin Media, previously you'd have to go and talk to like 6 release managers, fill in a form, do some crazy stuff. Like there's none of that anymore, which is great. So I guess like coming back to me and the role that I play in the team. So I'm a product manager at heart, and from Tez's example, I actually had that GIF and deleted it, but I kept this one in there. So product managers really have similarities between the Backstreet Boys, if you're old enough to know the song, where they sing Tell Me Why I'm Not Going to Sing It, and 4-year-olds. So we're constantly asking, why are we building that? What do our customers want? Whether it's a visualization dashboard or whether it's an API we're building for somebody, whether it's a data model, we're constantly asking, why are we building this thing? And my team are hopefully making sure we focus on the right things and we start small. So there's a great quote from Simon Sinek where he talks about start with the simplest thing with the highest probability of success and build that thing, repeat. Rather than going out into a box and going, we're going to build this thing and it's really shiny, it's machine learning, and popping out in 6 months, it's not what they wanted. We start small and we try and get to market as quick as we can. And I guess to demonstrate that, the industry that we're in, we're providing connectivity to people's homes and allowing them to send WhatsApps and everything like that. The team are going out with technicians. So now and again, you'll see us in the van with the high-vis jacket, big steel toe cap boots, and we're getting in front of our customers. Just because we work in data doesn't mean that we shouldn't be going to the front stage. So I think I try and encourage that across the whole team. In a couple of weeks, we've got some of our data modelling team going into call centres to see how the agents are entering things into the lovely black and green screen that we have there. So I've touched on data products, and I think for me, DJ Patil, so the ex-chief data scientist at the White House, if you don't follow him, you absolutely should, talks about it being a product that facilitates an end goals. It's the core ingredient, right? And in our world, those are in all shapes and sizes. So a data model could be treated as a data product. The journey that we're going on at the moment is basically bringing all of the data into one place, making it available to the company, so you don't spend 3 hours telling Shirley in commercial why your number is different to hers. So that's one of the things that we're doing. And a big thing around the product mindset there, I would say, is the user experience of models. So it's all well and good hacking some columns together. But if you go back into your companies, have a look in your data warehouse and go and look at the table names and the column names and tell me how human they are. So having that user experience mindset right at the very beginning of the models is really, really important. And obviously when it comes to like dashboard creation, people think that quantity is everything. It's not. So I get really panicked when I start to see double-digit dashboards. Like, oh my God, this probably could be like 3 dashboards with lots of different views. We don't need to go like whole hog on this. So bringing that product mindset and thinking the smallest thing we can do that answers those questions, and moving away. I guess I got a classic one yesterday. I thought only analysts got this, but turns out I get this now. Somebody sent me an email. I was like, hi, Chanade, this is what I'm looking for. And it was a table with titles of what they wanted. I was like, delete. No, I'm not giving you that. So just like, you have to say no as well. And as a product manager, that's one of the hardest things you can do, but you really do have to practice that and do it. So I'm going to go on to my career a little bit now. And I guess like one of my favourite quotes ever is this one. So great things don't come from comfort zones. And I touched on it in the very beginning. I've been really fortunate to have been surrounded by really strong women, like not career women, but women that have gone out there, got the shit done and held it together for everybody. And I think I've learned things from them that I've brought into my career through nurture. And then I've applied my technical self to it and then gone and thought, how do I solve this problem? So it's like a constant theme. Like my grandmother came over from Ireland on her own at 19. I mean, she was the loveliest person you could ever meet. She wasn't the most confident, but I think, geez, like the amount of inner strength that you had to deal with that and all of through life, like illnesses and things that hit her, she was just incredible. So love this quote. So my career has gone, I mean, you've got learning up on the side there, time here. It's probably not very accurate on the time side. But what you can see is from my first proper job, career, I rocked up to this software agency. I was a delivery manager, call me what you want, could have been a unicorn. And I was working with 15 engineers, all men, and that was fine. I was like, this is great. I'm 21, I'm living life, I'm building stuff. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I was the member of the family where they would go, oh, give it to Chanade. Chanade will sort it. And then your auntie's like, oh, isn't she so clever? I'm like, you just changed your settings on your iPhone. It's fine. So from a very young age, I guess I was a bit of a geek, but cut me in half. I'm like half customer and half geek, I think. So here I learned everything from like managing domain names, like deploying a website from MAMP, like, writing Hello World, like random things like that. But I was really the face for our clients. And I didn't know I was doing product management, but I was doing product management. Back then, product management wasn't really a thing in the UK, but in the US, it was massive. And if you look back to like Marty Kagan, if you've ever come across him, 20 years ago, they're having arguments about the product owner versus product manager discussion, which I'm very passionate about. So there's a theme here in the pink little lines there where every time I get comfortable, really I'm bored. So I'm not learning anymore. And I have to go and pivot to something else, the whole notion of the talk. And Robin made a really good point earlier where you can have your allies and your champions and your cheerleaders. They're not going to help you pivot. Like, they might help you and give you confidence, but they're not going to look out for that job for you. And I think you've really got to take ownership of it yourself, be uncomfortable, go and learn something. Came to Virgin Media about 6 years ago, and as I said, it wasn't the plan to stay here. I think I turned up, I had a ThinkPad Lenovo and Cisco Jabber to talk to people, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Because I was so used to using like Google Apps for Business, Slack, etc. I'd come here, I never had an engineer around me. I was like, this is wild, don't know how long I'm going to last, but I ended up lasting quite a while. I went on maternity leave, and gosh, that was a very steep learning curve. But I think I learnt things there that I've brought back into my career that are more valuable than ever, and I feel make me a better leader than I was before. And the journey's just going on now, so I'm really happy. I'm not comfortable, so yeah, I'm sticking around. I guess like a topic that I'm really passionate about is progression in your career as an individual contributor versus a people manager. And a lot of companies don't value individual contributors, sadly. So coming from smaller companies before Virgin Media, we had the path. So you have like your individual contributor, and then you split, and you either go into people management or individual contribution. So I came to Virgin, I was like, this is mad. So I've got to manage 5 people to progress in my career. And then when I came back from mat leave, we kind of had a chance to set up what we wanted the team to be. I had a clean slate. I was more senior in the organisation. I was around a really great bunch of people. And we were almost telling HR, this is how you should do it. This is how we should do it. So we spent a lot of time crafting our like mastery, like what are the key things that we want everybody to have as common traits. And then for each discipline, so data product management, engineering, data science, analytics, we wrote all of the content basically from being like an associate on the team right through to being distinguished as an individual contributor, or up to like head of director level. So we've crafted all that, we've rolled it out, and we've started to shift the business. We're disrupting them a little bit on the people side, which is brilliant. It's not just doing good stuff for our customers, but our people as well. And I think this is really important. And if your company isn't doing this, then you should try and push them to do this with the data that you can see out there, or go and work somewhere else, because not everybody's a good people manager, and we shouldn't force people into people management. And this is actually my journey. So I've gone left to right many times, and that's okay. You still progress like that. So taking it back to the very beginning, I think for me, career breaks, I wrote a blog post, it's sitting in the drafts, so I need to just push the button and post it. It's not just about maternity leave. There's adoption leave, paternity leave, there's sabbaticals if your company's looking to give you one after 5 years. Like, you should, not everybody's as fortunate to take them, but if you can take them, do use it as time to reflect and think about yourself, and like you can like reinvent yourself, so you can come back as someone different. Like my world, for example, I went on when I was going on maternity leave, I was working on some really good stuff. I kind of thought, this is good, I'm going off, everybody knows me. And I came back and literally the whole world had vanished, and the world had tipped upside down 5 times. So I got back and didn't really know anybody, so it was quite uncomfortable, but it was almost like I was working for a brand new company. So then you go, right, I'm Chanade, this is me, I'm going to go after it again. So you've got to be willing. So the cheerleaders aren't going to do it for you. Your mum and dad aren't going to do it for you. Your friends not going to do it for you. You've got to do it for yourself. And then I guess like from a network perspective, personal growth is so, like, you've got all of your inputs and everything that you focus on, so the time that you give, the effort, the passion, all the stuff in the middle nobody sees, or some people see some of it, not everybody sees it. I can't emphasise enough, and I think Robin said she didn't learn this until the second half of her career. I'm not sure which half I'm in yet, I'll decide that later. You've got to focus on the network. So here there's a great network, Women in Data is a great network, there's great networks within your companies that you need to tap into. But, like, don't be shy. Like, in my old companies, I was working for small software teams, and I was doing a bit of business development sometimes. And I was literally just, like, messaging people, like, hey, come to this dinner, hey, do this, we build this great stuff. Like, so my little black book is quite good now, quite good. But when I went to Virgin, I was like, I can't lose this. Like, I've built this perception, this person, I've built these connections. I need to keep that going. And that's where I kept, I write a blog. So I kept doing that and kept putting material out there. So I guess I stayed relevant. And I think in life, you talk about, like, relevant customer experiences and making sure we're delivering the right things for our customers. We have to be relevant as well as people, because if you think about the wave that we've gone through moving to the cloud, there's people in the team that have worked on Google Cloud, for example, and others that have never worked on any of these cloud native tools. And it's a growth. But they're only going to be good if they put the time and effort in themselves. They can't just go on Coursera and, like, do 8 hours learning. They need to actually throw themselves in. So I think we all have to take control of our careers and put the effort in, basically. And then I started to think about how might we, statement, classic project manager there, get more women to pivot into data, because that's what this whole thing is about. Help young girls see a career in data and help people pivot, because it's not about young people and it's not just about guys and girls, it's about everybody. I think there's a problem that I see with the pipeline. So if I think back to the beginning of my career working with engineers, I was one of 15, like one woman in 15, which was totally fine. It's not like that, not in our team, it's not, I guess it's not that, the ratio isn't that quite there, it's higher, but data is the same. So we're in the same kind of wave now. And I look at what schools are teaching people, and it's very conventional. So it's you look at all the CEOs in the company and all the people on the C-suite, they've probably come from marketing, they've probably come from commercial, probably come from finance. Where is the tech focus? Where is the customer experience focus? Where is the data focus and strategy and innovation? And I think that's where in 2018, I was like, okay, I've worked in technology, I've focused on customer experience, I've done the strategy and innovation, business model canvas. Data is like a big gap for me. And now hopefully I've moved into that and I've got a great understanding of it, but I'm not done yet. But, like, I think the modern leader does have that mix of things, basically. So there is an option for people on those leadership positions. They need to know how things work. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen at VM over the years. We've now got a chief digital officer. That was the first time that we ever had that on the C-suite. Before it was like, knock digital and data's door and tell them to do this, we want that. And it's like, well, that's not how we should do this. So I think collectively, like, we need to go to the schools. So I go to my local school, but that's not going to affect the whole of the UK, right? How do we as a group go to, our kids, friends, cousins, and influence them that there is a room there for data? But if you're older in your career and you're working in finance, for example, there's no reason, you're numerical, why you couldn't pivot across. And I think, Tej, you made the point about academia. A lot of the greatest data scientists that I'm fortunate to work with have come from academia. And when you put them in industry, it's very different problems that they're solving, but the way they solve them is very similar to how they did prior. And then a little bit on L&D. So I feel very passionate about learning and development for me and my team. I'm not going to read the quotes out, but L&D really is not great, I don't think, generally in the world for teams. And how do we influence our learning and development teams to be relevant? So I talk about the fact that you'll go onto, like, the portal and it'll be like, hey, PowerPoint training. I'm like, I don't need PowerPoint training. Like, why don't you go and teach John in commercial, like, the simple things around data, and that you don't just ask somebody to populate a table for you with some insight. We will hold your hand and story tell you, and we'll give you a lovely dashboard, and you can do all this great stuff with it. So I think for me, it's like making learning development relevant for your people, but also for people to pivot. So if you're working in finance, you want to move into advanced analytics data science, there's an option. If you're working in digital product, like I spent my career, there's an option for you to pivot into data. So I think it works both ways, but I think companies definitely do need to get better with it. And I think, as Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world, which hopefully has been quite common in everything I've said today. And there's three things. Well, there's another three things after this, but there's three things. So you saw what I did with Alberto. I was like, hey, Alberto, welcome to Virgin Media. Like, can I help? Blah, blah. Go and talk to that person that you've always wanted to talk to. And regardless of level, they're just humans. So just go and send that LinkedIn message, send that email, send that Teams message, that Slack message, WhatsApp, whatever channel. Go and learn something new and scare yourself. So I think the power of writing, from what I've seen, I started my writing in 2016. That kind of gave me confidence to move client side. So I was on the agency consulting side before. I was like, well, I've learned this. I could go and give that value somewhere else. So I think go and learn something new. It doesn't cost anything to learn, like obviously your time. But like if you don't fancy going to the gym, Tej, you could go and learn something new instead. So I think like just go and try something new, put yourself out there and lean on your network. So if you're a mentor, make sure you are, be more of a mentor, give back to people. And if you haven't got a mentor, I'd really encourage you to go and get mentors. So there's people in my career that I can just pick up the phone to and have a chat with, and they're like, bring me back down to earth. Like, right, no, this is fine. The imposter syndrome, get rid of that, it's fine, gone. And then, I keep saying, and then the final thing. So Reshma, is anyone familiar with Girls Who Code? I hope you are. Like, Reshma is incredible, and I've never watched a video and felt so much like, oh my God, yeah, like this. Like, we need to teach girls bravery, not perfection. So when I was a kid, I guess I was one of the lads, really, because there was no girls that lived on the estate where I lived, climbing trees, and I'd be doing whatever, and I was brave. And I think nurture and my parents taught me that as well, and the family that I grew up in. But too often we tell girls, like, get the A's, do this, be careful. So how are they ever meant to have entrepreneurial spirit to feel like they can take risks and do things? And Reshma, like, nails this way better than I just did. Like, you should absolutely watch her talk. So the final things for me to say to you today, watch Reshma's TED Talk. It's incredible. Be part of Women in Data. And I have to drop the recruitment, okay, don't I? We're growing exponentially, as you can see. I think we're at 150, 60 now. We're going up to 220 next year. And there's roles across like analytics, data science, machine learning, data product management, and at all levels. So I'm taking on our first apprentice next week. Took on our first associate a couple of months ago. So the world's your oyster. Come and join us. And we are turning into a tech company, this beast. So thank you.
Chanade, thank you. The third honest talk in a row. My mind's blown this afternoon, I must say. I've got a question.
Yeah.
How did you manage the FOMO of that period of reflection during your maternity leave? Because I took no maternity leave because I had a fear of missing out, particularly in the world of data and technology that moves so fast.
Yeah.
How did you manage that?
Do you know what? I was on maternity leave for the whole of 2020, so I was actually glad of missing out for that. You're on mute. Like, I'd go on Twitter and I'd just see quotes like, you're on mute. And I'm like, all right, Gary, it's not funny anymore. Like, so I think I did, the fear of missing out, I think I put my energies into other things, like Maya, obviously my daughter, of course. But I kept writing. So I was still learning. Like, when babies are lying there, it's a bit boring for them. Like, you're watching telly and reading. Like, I was reading books and stuff. I tried not to get sucked into the world of work because there was a lot of change happening and I didn't need to be disrupted by that. I was like, that is happening and I'm going back in like 12 months. That is totally fine. They're still going to be there. So I think I just kept writing and was glad to miss out from the you're on mute when everybody was allowed to work from home.
True.
So
True story.
Yeah.
Have we got some questions for Chanade from the floor? Any questions at all? Whilst people are thinking, I just want to add in, and Chanade, I'm not sure you're aware of this, but Women in Data has a little sister, and it's Girls in Data. What our vision is to empower our 30,000 community with the curriculum to go out to local schools and colleges and inspire the next generation of data practitioner. Again, if you aren't already a member, I please ask you, go and see our friends, our team at the Team With stand over in the corner just outside the theatre, who will get you registered and be able to share the information around our Girls in Data project. Have we any questions? Thought I saw a hand. No.
It's fine if there's no questions. Yeah. You can hit me up on LinkedIn, send that message if you want.
Definitely. She's recruiting. Again, another plug.
Thank you. See you later.
And just to say that we are back here again in the next 15 minutes with the brilliant Kanari Lada, who is sharing the stage for Women in Data for our last session of the day. Hope to see you again.